Anyone who grew up in the 1970s and beyond probably remembers McDonald's colorful McDonaldland-themed advertisements. What you might not know is that McDonald's essentially stole the entire idea for their Fantasyland. By the late 1960s, people realized that children were a perfect target for advertising, as their undeveloped brains could be easily manipulated for quick bucks. So in early 1970, McDonald's came up with the idea of using the popular characters from Sid and Marty Krofft's hit TV series HR Pufnstuf in order to sell fast food to kids. Phone calls were exchanged and the Kroffts received an official letter saying the deal was going forward, and that they would be paid for their work. However, later that year, the Kroffts were abruptly told that the plan had been scrapped. Except, of course, it hadn't been. In 1971, McDonald's unveiled their wildly popular McDonaldland, a fantasy realm filled with weird burger-themed creatures and puppets. The ad campaign was a massive success, leading to McDonaldland-themed playgrounds around the country and a surge in sales. One problem, though. The concepts and characters in McDonaldland were almost completely ripped off from HR Pufnstuf. Especially egregious was Mayor McCheese, whose design was almost identical to HR Pufnstuf's titular dragon other than having a fluffy bun for a head. Needless to say, the Krofts sued, and that's when things really got interesting. As the lawsuit played out, the depth of McDonald's perfidy became apparent. Not only did McDonald's appropriate the basic concepts of the HR Pufnstuf characters, they actually hired away the Krofft employees who had designed and built the HR Pufnstuf characters to begin with. In fact, McDonald's went so far as to even recruit the voice talent from HR Pufnstuf to do the voices for the McDonaldland characters too. The Kroffts' lawsuit wasn't just about the theft of intellectual property, though. Thanks to the massive McDonald's marketing machine, the McDonaldland characters quickly became so popular that they pushed HR Pufnstuf out of the market. The Kroffts lost a number of merchandising and licensing deals as companies turned to McDonald's instead. Case in point, the Icecapades, which replaced the Pufnstuf characters with the McDonaldland gang. Once the lawsuit went to court, one of the more unique aspects of the trial is the fact that it was more about how children perceive things than how adults did. The Kroffts argued that while adults might know the difference, little kids being marketed to wouldn't understand that the McDonaldland gang wasn't actually part of their beloved Saturday morning HR Pufnstuf show. So the usual legal burden of copyright infringement was superseded by something far less common in lawsuits: common sense. Even though McDonald's argued that they had changed enough small details to make their characters legally different, the courts didn't buy it. As the text from the case notes, "We do not believe that the ordinary reasonable person, let alone a child viewing these works, will even notice that Pufnstuf is wearing a cummerbund while Mayor McCheese is wearing a diplomat sash." In 1977, 6 years after the battle started, the courts found McDonald's guilty. But did they really lose? In the end, McDonald's was forced to pay the Kroffts more than $1 million in damages, including $6,000 per commercial, $5,000 for each promotional item made, and $500 for other infringing acts. They were also ordered to stop using certain characters and to stop airing commercials, running promotions, or selling items that featured those characters. Over the following years, the McDonaldland characters began to fade in popularity, but by the time the lawsuit was finally completed in 1977, the goal had already been accomplished, and the damage done. HR Pufnstuf has been relegated to a footnote of history, mostly notable for sneaking references to hippie drug culture into kids' television.
Jumpin' Jehoshaphat, we've been drugged.
Characters like Grimace, the Hamburglar, and Mayor McCheese, on the other hand, are still part of America's cultural lexicon and help turn McDonald's into a worldwide phenomenon.
Rubble, rubble! Les Miserables, rubble!
And when you put it that way, $1 million seems like a bargain.